Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all this bulk material because we just glued these braces on and we've got these large, stout pieces of wood in the way of everything we're trying to do. And we're going to get to final measurements later. But first, we just want to get rid of some of these wing braces or finger braces that are in the way. Let me go ahead and turn it around now. It helps to rotate your work so you can get to it from different angles. It's also nice if you have a workstation that you can always be coming at from any direction, ideally. Mine's against the wall, but I pull it out away from the wall sometimes. And I am going for a middle peak on those finger braces, but right now I'm just trying to get down, you could say about 100 thousandths to where it touches the brace. We've got a lot of work to do here. So I'm going to come at this brace from the center, from the joint where we glued them together, but I'm also going to try to scallop it at the same time. So I've kind of marked my peak. You can't really see it there, but I do come just kind of gouging from both directions, trying not to split the wood. It's really easy for your chisel to dig in and split that wood, but you don't want that to happen. But you'll get better at that with time. It's just one of those skills that you develop, knowing not to push too hard. And so that's scalloping right there in a nutshell. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the end down. I get them close by eye, but all the ends go to 50 thousandths, which is what we set our router bit depth to when we cut the slots in the kerfing to mount the top. So I'm just getting rid of the bulk right now. That's kind of what this video is about. And mostly being able to do 90% of the work with a chisel. Most of the older instruments ever made, they didn't really use sandpaper on anything, so sanding things smooth is sort of a newer thing. But just watch those shavings fly off. It's my entirely favorite part of building guitars, is that right there. But really, edge cut with a chisel is much smoother than anything you're going to get with sandpaper, as long as you don't gouge it. And they say not to work towards yourself. I have studied some Japanese chiseling, and I pretty much only use Japanese chisels. You'll see the method I use, you're not really endangering yourself, but don't ever cut towards your hands. That's the real thing, because you can cut yourself pretty bad. But take those down just a little bit more. Gonna go ahead and get some of this bulk material off these other finger braces over here. My favorite thing about that chisel is that you can put your thumb or fingers around the edge of the blade. So the blade's not really that long, but the way that it's shaped, you have something to grab onto, and you can get really good control on it. And that's why I really love Japanese chisels. course, there's some cleanup in this video. What would it be without that? Alright, so now I'm marking out my peaks on the tone bars. I have certain measurements that I go for. Feel free to comment or ask me if you want to know exactly what they are. Off memory, I think it's roughly 2 15/16 from peak to peak, and I mark those, and then I just start shaving those down, because those aren't going to tuck into the kerfing, so those are actually going to go into nothing before they meet the kerfing. And if you're really good, you can get them to just kind of kiss the kerfing and make it all look perfect, and that's my goal when I build one. And then I'm going to start kind of working on these top 2 bars of the X. Everything's pretty tall. There's a lot of room to go down on these, and you know, the strongest shape is a triangle as far as bracing goes, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need everything to be a perfect triangle. But I like the cathedral shape. I just think it looks better in the guitar. Carving perfect triangles is a whole nother thing. But here we go. This is a fun part, scalloping these 2. This is exactly how I do it. Some people pre-cut their braces, but I strongly believe in actually carving your braces, developing your skills. Plus, it's really hard to glue things on when they're already carved. And you get to use all sorts of fun little hand tools to do this. Alright, so I'm going to get out my Lie-Nielsen low angle block plane here and shave down some of the extra girth on the top of this shoulder brace. This is really fun for me. This plane works so well. It just does its job so perfectly. Look at those perfect shavings. Oh, sorry, there's always some cleanup. Alright, now that we did that, got that out of the way, let me remind you about, using a chisel. When you're going in, you use the chisel backwards. I remember being 16 years old and watching Dana Bourgeois' videos and Like, why is he using his chisel backwards? I thought they only worked one way. Look at me now. Well, so if you want to carve in, that's how you use your chisel. If you want to keep something flat, use the flat side. And I'm just kind of tapering those down. It's about 2.5 inches that I take till I actually do the full taper, to where it tapers off to the 50,000s that tuck into the kerfing that we talked about. Sorry, my arm is in the way. Alright, so we're back at it. We've done a lot of work so far, so let's go ahead and... I had a height marked for that shoulder brace. I'm getting to that final height now. I like to keep those nice and flat on top until we taper them in. Wow, that plane just does such a great job, doesn't it? Also, if you ever need the perfect fire starters, keep your shavings. Those are perfect fire starters. Just to remind you, this is Carpathian spruce, top and braces. Everything I keep dry at about 50% humidity in my shop, so just a little bit to think about there while we clean things up. I had to knock down a little bit of height off the X brace too. The X brace is actually very high right now, and later it gets knocked down a good bit as well. But what we're going for accurately on these old Gibsons, they weren't very tall, so we're going to be going down a good bit. Once again, I apologize for hair or arms or whatever's in the camera. One day, if you guys support me, perhaps we can get more cameras involved and make these videos a little better, because I'm down if you're down, but I need you to make me work, if that makes sense. Yeah, take that down a little more. And once again, I cannot not mention how awesome the Lie-Nielsen low angle block plane is. It works wonders for many purposes beyond this. But maybe we should touch on the fact the whole point of this is we've got bracing, we've got a top, we are building a sound carrying responsive body that when you pluck the strings on that instrument, this thing is going to project the sound forward. And that's a confusing thing, because sometimes, you know, some guitars sound better to the person playing them because the sound's coming through the side or something. But you really want it to be loud out front, but of course you want it to sound great to the player, but it can be confusing when you have those type of guitars. I built one recently that's very punchy out front, but when you play it, to you it sounds dead, but you hand it to your friend and you're like, wow, can you play that for me again? So, you know, guitars are very magical creatures. They're not all the same. They're very unique, and that's why I do this, because you never know what you're gonna get. Really, you try, you do what you can, you do your best, but really it's always a surprise, and that's what's fun about it. Some of you may hate that, but you got to be in it for the journey. I think I'm getting my final height measurements now. Take those down a little more. Alright, so we're getting down to the final height now on the X. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next video. We'll finish this up. But thank you for watching.